The Roman Empire lasted an incredible 1,480 years. The Mongol Empire? Just 88. Here's a part of history that is so rarely talked about. The average empire barely makes it to 220 years. In fact, there's this historical death sentence, a mathematical curse of roughly 250 years that comes for almost every global superpower. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly why some of the biggest names in history vanished in the blink of an eye, and we'll reveal a massive hidden survivor that lasted for 18 centuries.
So, what actually kills an empire, and how long does greatness really last? Why does some of the most famous names in human history just crumble almost instantly, while others manage to stick around for millennia? To figure this out, we need to look at the data, and we're starting from the absolute bottom of the barrel.
Section 1. Empires that barely began. Because, as you'll see, size does not equal survival.
Take the first Mexican Empire. It lasted just 2 years. They gained independence from Spain, declared an empire, and then, seemingly forgot to agree on who was actually in charge. Then you've got the Empire of Vietnam coming in at just 5 months back in 1945. Below that, the Empire of China under Yuan Shikai, 3 months and 10 days. Honestly, that's not an empire, that's just a bad lease. But look at the bottom here. The Qing Restoration of 1917. 12 days. 12. A general marched into Beijing, put the last emperor back on a throne that didn't really exist anymore, and 12 days later he was marching back out. It's a mere historical hiccup.
And this right here perfectly illustrates the ultimate historical juxtaposition. That first Mexican empire, it covered nearly 1.9 million square miles. Let that sink in. That means this empire controlled more land than modern-day India, but it collapsed in less time than it takes to film a successful television series. Size definitely, absolutely does not equal survival.
Which brings us to Section 2, Famous Names, Short Lives.
The numbers here are just shocking. Nazi Germany, the Third Reich, lasted just 12 years. Alexander the Great's massive Macedonian Empire, 13 years. He conquered from Greece all the way to India, building the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen, but then he died at 32, and his generals tore the whole thing apart. The empire outlived its founder by exactly 0 days. And then, of course, there are the Mongols. Genghis Khan built the largest contiguous land empire in human history, over 9 million square miles. Yet the whole shebang completely fractured into arguing khanates in just 88 years.
Or consider the Aztec Empire. It lasted from 1428 to 1521, just 93 years. And remember, this was a highly advanced civilization. They engineered these magnificent floating cities and complex agricultural systems. Yet they were completely wiped out in less than a century by 500 men, some horses, and smallpox.
Moving right along to Section 3, the 250-year average.
250. This number is Sir John Glubb's undeniable mathematical law. Glubb was a British general who spent his life analyzing the rise and fall of empires across 3,000 years of history. And what he found was absolutely wild. The average lifespan of national greatness is exactly 250 years. That translates to roughly 10 generations. After that, collapse.
And this isn't magic, folks. It's math. Look at how these numbers hold up across totally different eras and cultures. You've got Assyria at 247 years. Persia under Cyrus, 208 years. The Roman Republic at 233 years. The Arab Empire at 246 years. And the British Empire's peak, 250 years. Whether we're talking about ancient theocracies or modern naval superpowers, this 250-year pattern just keeps showing up like clockwork. They all have a very, very strict shelf life.
Section 4. History's Longest Surviving Empires.
Let's count down these historical juggernauts, the ones that actually broke the curse. At number 5, the Ottoman Empire, which adapted and survived for 623 years. At number 4, the Ethiopian Empire, holding out unconquered for 665 years, basically by making themselves way too expensive to defeat. Number 3 is the Zhou Dynasty in China, which lasted 790 years by smartly decentralizing their power. And at number 2, the legendary Roman Empire, which, if you count the Byzantine East, survived an absolutely astounding 1,480 years.
But now, for the ultimate twist. The #1 longest-lasting empire in recorded history is the Pandyan Empire of southern India, surviving a mind-blowing 1,850 years. They outlasted Rome, the Mongols, and the Ottomans combined.
Now, you've probably never even heard of them, making this history's best-kept secret. The Pandyas controlled southern India and Sri Lanka, and they totally dominated the ancient pearl trade. They were trading pearls with ancient Greece and Rome, and they outlasted both of them. History has a really funny way of hiding its greatest survivors, making this South Indian dynasty the ultimate hidden Easter egg of our global past.
Section 5. The Secret to Surviving Time.
So what does this all mean? Well, it changes everything we think we know about power. Let's look at the fast-dying empires first. They have massive scale, they are totally focused on conquering, and they get dangerously overexpanded. Think of your Mongol Empire or your Macedonian Empire. The biggest empires died the fastest because, frankly, size kills. Conversely, look at the enduring empires. They are regional, they're focused on trade and commerce, and they have decentralized power. Regional powers like the Pandyas and the Zhuo adapted to their surroundings instead of trying to swallow the whole world.
And this brings us to a brilliant summation of Sir John Glubb's Age of Decadence. He noted, empires don't die from invasion, they die from indigestion. It's so true. When empires stop expanding, they start consuming themselves. Rome didn't just fall to outside barbarians, it fell to massive inflation, overtaxation, and a huge leadership crisis. The British Empire didn't just fall to rebellion, it fell to the crushing financial weight of 2 world wars. They ate more than they could process, and the internal costs literally tore them apart.
Finally, Section 6, the 250-year curse in modern context.
Well, we have to address the elephant in the room, right? In 1776, the United States declared independence. That means in the year 2026, the United States hits the 250-year mark. It runs headfirst right into Sir John Glubb's historical death sentence, the exact historical average.
But before anyone panics, we need to understand what an inflection point actually is. It's a crucial moment of significant change, where a trajectory must adapt, rather than definitively ending. The 250-year mark is not a guaranteed collapse. It is a critical warning. It's a necessary moment for transformation. Refusing to adapt is the real killer here, not time itself.
Successful empires handled their 250-year inflection points by fundamentally changing their identity and their structure. Look at Rome. They survived by splitting and becoming 2 Romes, the East and the West, buying the East a millennium of extra time. The Ottomans adapted their systems and eventually transitioned into a modern republic. And the British? They survived their peak by transitioning into a commonwealth. The empires that survived past 250 years did one crucial thing. They changed what they were.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful conclusion. The empires never truly died, they just learned new names. The past doesn't simply end, it hands off to the future. Ancient Roman roads morphed into modern European highways. The Ottoman legal code shaped modern civil law. The Pandyan pearl routes evolved into modern Indian Ocean shipping lanes. The question isn't whether 250 years means death. The question is whether year 251 looks different and more adapted than year 249.
This has been such a fascinating journey through the math and the secrets of human history. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. If you could save one empire from collapse in world history, which one would it be, and exactly how would you do it? Let that spark your curiosity until next time.